Now, what I wanted him to do to be successful was come work in our company and build it and take on Facebook and have his kids. Didn't work out, but that got the meeting because of how you invert the thinking process. Right? So that's where with and with them comes in. It's how to be specific. Instead of saying, hey, hi, let me tell you about what we have, it's, hi, we have a solution that might be able to help you reach your goal. Right? So just think differently, because even when I write emails, sometimes I catch myself and I have to figure out how I can start with you.
That's really interesting.
All right, so here comes the fun one. What do you do? And I asked you guys this earlier. Most of the time when people tell me what they do, most of the time I don't know, I don't understand what people do. Right? Like I've known Ray for a while. I still don't know what producer means. I don't know director, this or that, or there's too many moving parts in entertainment. Right? And when I was Pablo, you're like, oh, I'm a CIS and I'm an MI this, and I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Like most people pat you on the head, cool, no clue. Right? So what happens is in our head, this is the way our world works. Is this my next slide? Yeah. Rock star means the following. Normally I'll bring somebody up on the stage or front. I'm not going to do it. So here's what this slide means. I'm going to knock on the desk a song that's in my head. And I want you guys to guess the song. Ready? Any idea? Come on. All right, let me tell you more. Hang on. I'll tell you more about my company. No. All right, watch this. Oh, say, can you see how the dawn's early? In my head, it's perfect. This is the point. When you're describing what you do to people, you're a rock star. In your head, you hear it perfectly. Like, Ray, I'm producer. I'm like, I don't know what that means. But in your head, boy, you hear that song perfect. And then when somebody doesn't understand it, you're like, oh, well, hang on, let me explain it to you again. And you start going faster. They're not going to get it. Right? So what you do is irrelevant. What you need is important. People spend too much time trying to explain what they do. And people don't get it or they don't care. This is how you lead people. Lost, confused, perplexed, disoriented, they don't care. They don't get it. So we're going to change that. We're going to change the entire perspective. We're going to change how you talk to people. We're going to change how they help you. And we're going to start with, again, remember, these all build on each other. This is like an IQ test. Negative programming. This is not a trick question, Pablo. It's a tip. What are these people doing? Climbing?
No, they're going up.
Rappelling down.
Yeah.
Right? It's harder to climb up a mountain than it is to go down. Again, it's programming. Right? Most people are like, oh, they're rock climbing. No, if they're climbing down, it's a whole lot easier. The goal in building a company is how do you start at the top of the mountain and dealing with people and rappel down into the organization. You guys heard that? It's a whole lot easier if you're selling or trying to build a whole lot easier to start at the top than the bottom. This is what we're going to do. We're going to build a sequence and something called the tornado technique. Right? And this can be used for anything, no matter what kind of, well, almost anything. I'm still going to try it, but before we're done, I'm going to figure out how to help you. But if you're trying to raise money, if you're trying to build a company, if you need board members, if you need advisors, if you're trying to hire talent, tornado technique is a very specific isolation program that takes about 90 seconds to learn, but it will completely change the dynamics. Right? And I'll use one of our examples. So what happens is, this is me being a rock star. Right? One of our current companies is Magmo, and I could give you all the ABC stuff and just knock on wood. We're a B2B publishing tool, cross-platform, multidisciplinary, HTML5 viewing, act like Hootsuite for photos to build. Like, I'm in my head, I know what I'm saying. Right? If you were a social media director, you'd go, oh, that's cool. Everybody else is like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Right? Yeah, good for you. Great. Yeah, hey. What's that? That Steven guy's got a B to hoot something. I don't know what it was. Right? So, what what we're going to do is we're going to become effective like a tornado. Trick question.
Okay, this is the one.
This is the one.
Oh boy, here it
I warned them there's only one trick question in the whole thing. I warned you before. What is the most powerful part of a tornado?
The eye.
Thank you. You
Yeah.
missed it twice. I warned you. So let's talk about it.
I knew I was going to get it right.
That's okay. It's good. Number one, there's an eye in a hurricane, not a tornado. Tornado doesn't have an eye. A hurricane does.
Okay.
Number two, the eye is the most calm part of the hurricane. So I asked a trick question that you got wrong twice with one answer.
is.
That's tough to do.
He's an overachiever.
I know, I like it.
Oh, I
like
can
it.
call that.
Right? So I always get that, and it's a great question. No, the most powerful part of a tornado, for those of us that grew up in Oklahoma and Kansas, is not up here where all the crap's flying around. It's a little tiny tip that touches the ground. When a tornado's up in the air, you can actually see them. If it's swirling in the air and it's a cloud, it doesn't do destruction. If that thing even comes down, it doesn't touch. It's a little tip that touches the ground that does all the destruction. So the visualization for the tornado technique is we're going to take all of this noise and information and sequence it down for you to become powerful when you're talking to people. And here's how it works. This is tornado technique. Step number 3. This is the basis for almost everything that we're going to build on. Step 3 really is going to help you. If you don't learn anything else, learn this one. So, we already talked about it. Most people don't realize what you do, they don't understand, or they don't care. We're going to change that. So number 1, if you tell somebody what do you do, what's the emotional value of what you do? People make decisions emotionally and defend them logically. Right? We make our decisions based on emotion and visuals. So what's the emotional value of what you do? When you were talking about what you do work-wise and stuff, there's something emotional and cool. It could be, you know, I do CIS, but what I really do is I help, and I don't even know what CIS is, I'm going to make it up. I help kids become better engineers so they can go out and change the world. Right? Like, okay, cool. Like, I don't know what that means, but there's something tied to an emotional value. So everybody that's an entrepreneur needs to figure out, hey, what's the emotional value of what you do? Because that's what people are going to remember. Then within there, you say, okay, now we're going to start sequencing down. This is called isolation of faces. Psychological sequencing says, if I'm in sales and I'm going out trying to sell into an industry, if I'm trying to raise money, if I'm trying to go out, what are the industries that I go into? What are the industries I'm best in? Not that I can't go everywhere, be everything to everybody. But there's usually 2 or 3 industries that are the best industries where you're really strong, where you really succeed, where you really can help people. And then it starts diminishing out around the edges. And within those industries, what are the companies by name? Specific companies. If you're trying to do business, or if you have clients and you're trying to explain to me what you do, like, oh, the emotional value is here's what I do and I help kids do this, and we really work in these 3 industries, and some of our clients are this college, this college, this. Once you start getting here, this is the isolation because people start building pictures based on the companies, if they recognize them and if they know them. Within there, who's the person you're trying to sell to? What's the title? And then the very end, who's the person you want to meet? And this is the goal, to try and find 3 to 5 people that you want to meet by name. Right? So it's a little tough. Do you have a business outside?
Mm-hmm.
What is it?
It's a consulting business
Okay.
with education and HR.
Okay. So this would have been a good example. I could have asked you and said, oh, what do you do? And
Yeah.
let's say consulting in HR.
Yeah.
And okay.
Yeah, who cares?
And I'd
Yeah,
say,
no,
okay, what does that mean? And I would sit and ask you, and by the time we're done,
yeah.
I might better understand what you do.
Yeah.
But if we don't ever get to here, I don't know what you need, I can't help you.
Yeah.
You know, and so this is where you can build a referral sequence to actually have people help you. And I'll give you the example. Oh, we're doing P5. I have so many different ones. I'm going to use one called Rona Star that I don't have up, and then I'll use this in Magma, but you'll get it. Just to show you some examples of how it works, like with ours, and then we can try and role play. This is where we'll spend a little more time. If like yours will be really easy and fun. Ray's might be, we can work on yours. We have a company called RonaStar, Return on Net Assets.
Mhm.
So if I explain RonaStar over here, this is the knocking on the table, right? We're an ASP and an SAS, we're a proprietary platform redeploying assets inside an enterprise using a proprietary electronic currency as an ERP initiative. So we can actually redeploy as an integration, not an implementation, into the FA module to work as an ERP, or we're actually an EPS because we're a better solution than a cost avoidance program. You know, all right, hang on, here's what it really, let me explain it to you. Like, and I could sit and it doesn't matter. Right? But I could explain it. The people who are in the software are like, man, that's cool, but that's like 1 in 1,000. Here's RonaStar using tornado techniques. So let's back up the slide and watch as I go through this, right? And you'll see how now that it goes down, pay attention in your mind the stories and the pictures that kind of get formed, and see if there's a way for you to help me when I get done with this. So here's RonaStar. We have a software company. What we do, we help really big companies save money. Companies are trying to save money. We help big companies save a lot of money. We work best though in industries like automotive, manufacturing, government, public schools, like, you know, companies with big assets and lots of stuff sitting around. Our target clients are United Airlines, Los Angeles Public School System, any of the colleges or universities with multiple locations. And within there, the person we primarily talk to is the CFO. So if you happen to know CFOs of big companies, love to talk to them. And right now our target is we'd love to meet the CFO of State of Los Angeles, City of Los Angeles, Los Angeles Public School, Northrop Grumman, State of California, maybe even the college here if they have a CFO. Might be interested in saving money. That's all right, so watch this. Over here, RonaStar did who knows what. RonaStar here, I help companies save money, and I'm trying to meet, what am I trying to meet? The CFOs. That's what you want people to remember. What you do is irrelevant. What you need is important. So this is where this becomes an exercise that people have to go through, because when you're trying to get somebody to help you, it's your responsibility to identify who you're trying to meet. Right? Yeah.
On the very first part where it said we help people save money, shouldn't you just add a little bit more in what? Because you can help people save money in, you know, software solutions, or you can help people save money in janitorial services. You know, two completely different things. So should we just add a little bit more there so the person has an idea of what kind of, you know, industry we're in? Because I know you're talking about the industries later on, but
so I hear you, Pablo, and I have two answers for that. Number one, no. Because here's why, you're not my customer. So I can explain it, and I'm not being pejorative, like I'll answer, you're not my customer. So if you really want to know, I can talk to you and explain it in its physical assets, furniture, pictures, and equipment. We sit over a fixed asset module, and we have a software that's like an eBay. So if you have extra assets, if you've got a bunch of desks sitting in your room that aren't being used and Ray's going to buy brand new ones, we have software that lets you transfer assets within a company. So we can help a big company move physical assets around. I can explain it and get you more involved. The reality is, for most people, that's fine if I explain it. My goal is, who do you know that you can get me to? And if you're asking me those questions, either A, you might know somebody, or B, you might be in the industry. So I can go further down that road if you ask. Initially though, most people aren't going to ask, but if they do, you can answer it. The goal for me is, in my head, I know what my industry, company, target, and titles are.
No, and this actually makes a lot of sense to me, you know, getting somebody's attention, and like you mentioned, getting somebody to understand what is it that you do, and you're trying to network. However, by the time you get to the end, what do you find? Oh, you're talking to the wrong guy. Because let's say, for example, if it was about software solutions, and I'm not the tech guy, I'm the janitor guy, you know, so that's what I said, like, I can't help you or not.
I hear you. All you've done is you've skipped ahead in the presentation because I'm about to fix that.
Oh, okay.
So that's step 4, which is a great question. All right, so give me a moment and we'll get to that one, which is called deflect, defer, and disclose. All right, so we'll get there. We'll finish this and then I'll answer that, because that will never happen when I'm done with you, but it's a great question.
Okay.
All right, so For tornado technique, who wants to role play? You want to try?
Sure.
Okay.
So, I can create curriculum for you. I can help you, well, it depends on which one. Are we gonna talk educational or HR? Do you want me to focus on?
Let's do education.
Okay, so I can help you create curriculum for face-to-face classes or online. I can help you create new programs. I can, do you want me to go down into industry, John?
Well, let's stop there because
Okay.
already it's in your head. Do any of you guys know what curriculum means
I
or
do.
program? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Most
But
of us,
I cannot write it like she
Yeah.
does, so.
what's the benefit of the curriculum or the program? Like, what's the benefit that the company or the person gets out
Well,
of that?
it would be a college or an educational place, so they.
So your clients mostly colleges?
Yeah, so that part of my business is,
Okay.
so, yeah.
So then your industry is colleges?
Yeah, in that part.
Okay.
The educational part of the consulting, yeah.
Are there certain colleges that you want to get to that you haven't yet or you're trying to?
No, not really. I'm so busy with my other job that
Yeah.
they're actually coming to me to get me to
Okay.
write curriculum, and I don't have the time to do it.
All right.
So, yeah, so I'm kind of in this
Well, that's
opposite,
okay. So
yeah.
all we're doing is
Yeah.
if you were actually trying to expand,
But if I was,
if
yeah.
you were, we would try and tie something emotional to curriculum or program so somebody that doesn't understand what that word means,
Yeah.
would figure out what the benefit is for your client.
So if I was going to somebody that wasn't so,
Yeah.
because usually the colleges, they that's what they want the curriculum written, so they will know because that's what
But that's your client. If you're talking to somebody like me,
okay, so if I'm talking to somebody like.
yeah, and you're trying to expand your business, what we're trying to get at is what's something emotional cool
Mhm.
that says, oh, what I build curriculums and programs for colleges that makes it easier for them to teach classes.
Yeah, so I can say like, I can create a program and then you can start it at your school and it'll increase your enrollment.
Okay,
yeah.
so you create programs for colleges to help them increase enrollment.
Yeah, and,
Okay. That's pretty simple.
oh,
Like, yeah, anything deeper than that would be like, oh.
yeah.
And then we would go, all right, are there certain kinds of colleges? Are there certain sizes? Are there certain,
It can be,
are you
community
better at small, or you better at
colleges,
liberal, or better at
I've done it
community?
for private colleges, small colleges,
Okay.
community, big colleges.
Yeah, so we would say, community, liberal, doesn't really matter, really. And then we would try and come up with 3 to 5 colleges, if you were expanding, that you wanted to work in.
Mm-hmm.
For instance, I'm really trying to work with USC and UCLA and College of the Canyons. And then the next question would be, who within the college is the actual buyer? Who do you talk to? What's the title?
So usually it's like a curriculum coordinator, or it might be the dean of the CTE dean, or the business dean, or
Okay.
whatever, like department.
Dean, business, okay.
Yeah, so for instance, this last one, it was the college came to me, they need HR curriculum written, and it was the dean of the business CTE department that said, hey, we need this curriculum.
Okay. And then the next step would be 3 to 5 people that are deans that you really wanted to meet.
Yeah.
So then if you're talking to somebody and say, what do I do? Oh, I create programs for colleges that help them increase their enrollment. So colleges are trying to increase enrollment. I help them create programs and curriculum. I work in liberal universities, community colleges, big colleges, really anything across the board. Some of the colleges I'm trying to work with now are USC, UCLA, College of the Canyons. The curriculum director, the dean's usually who I work with. And if you happen to know these 4 people, I'd love to meet them. And it leaves people with the ability, because what you're trying to do is you're trying to move them off what you do to what you need for somebody to go, oh, you want that? Oh, I know that dean. Oh, I know that guy. Oh, you want to meet so-and-so? Oh, I can get you there.
Yeah.
And it moves you from what you need to what you do.
Yeah, and what you're saying is, it's so true, because people, usually people want to help you.
Yeah.
They do,
Mhm.
there's something in there they want. So yeah, that's what I've learned over the years.
Well,
is
step 5 is going to
Yeah.
fix that where they'll always help you.
that they'll always help you, I like
Always
that.
help you. All right. You want to try? You?
Myself? Yeah, I can try.
Okay.
I can do it with my business consulting company.
Okay.
Of business consulting.
Yeah.
Small
What's your name?
businesses. Gabriela.
Gabriella, okay.
I help finding resources for businesses, actually money to grow your business.
Okay.
The industries I work are restaurant, retail, and I would like to meet. I'm making this happen.
Yeah, it's okay.
Maybe franchise restaurants, franchises.
Okay.
Do you happen to know such and such person, I guess, from those
Okay,
companies?
so it's good, Gabrielle. So the finding money will get people's attention. The restaurant, retail, people will kind of get. Now when we're down franchises, if you were trying to expand, we would pick 3 to 5 franchises. I really want, so there's a difference between Subway or a McDonald's or a Starbucks or a Jiffy Lube, right? So hey, I really want to work with Starbucks and Subway and Jiffy Lube, and within there really it's the franchise director or the chief marketing officer. I don't know, because I kind of make it up with you. And I'd love to meet these 5 people right now. I want to meet John McKay from Whole Foods. I want to meet Tom Smith from Subway. I want to, so finding money, retail, it sort of sequences down. And when you get to the franchise, when you start naming the companies, that's when people, when their mind kind of start trying to connect the dots. And then the individual names at the end, or when somebody goes, oh, I know that person.
Great. Very good. Thank you.
Ray, you gonna try it for money raising on the tech
Yeah.
one or what?
Sure.
All right, let's try it.
Okay, so I make memorable entertainment experiences, and it's in the film, TV, VR, or mobile app space. And I'm looking for studios, financiers, or distributors. Companies I want to talk to is Warner's, Netflix, Hulu. Specifically, who I want to meet is anyone that can write a check.
All right, within Warner though, who's the check writer in Warner? Is it marketing? Is it PE? Is it ad? Is it production?
It's production, head of studio development.
All right, so who's the head of studio development at Warner Brothers?
I don't know now. It
That's-
keeps changing. Yeah. I
Okay.
know. I need to write these down. Yeah.
All right, but that's the whole goal is just
Right.
when you
Be
go through
real
this,
specific on
when
who
you go through this exercise, if you really want the head of studio development, then research and find out
Right. You're
who's
right.
the head of studio development.
But you like that? You like the way that?
Yeah.
went? Okay.
Yeah. Except when we get to step 4 and 5, when you talked about studios, you gave me 3 different industries that are really varied.
I know that's the
But
problem.
no, I'll fix it.
Okay.
Step 4 and 5 is going to fix these little
Okay.
problem things coming up. But that's where it gets down to, is just the best way to do that.
Okay.
And again, guys, part of this is not to be robotic. It's just getting you thinking through a process that you can go back and go, all right, if I need funding, if I need new clients, if I need managers, who's the best ones out there? Like, what are my best companies? What are the best title or person? Who do I want that's on my wish list of companies? And that's what I think I did here, like with P5. We wrote this one for somebody that we were working with. So P5 is not going to make sense, but it's not supposed to. So we have another project we were working on called P5. We're going to inverse the process of innovation. We're trying to streamline the process for large companies to do business with early stage companies. That's it. We want to make it easier for big companies to do business with early. But we wrote this to get sponsors. We want sponsors in legal, banking, accounting, consulting. Companies we're interested in: Stubbs Allerton, First Century, Grant Thornton, PwC. In the large companies, we really want to talk to the chief marketing officer. And directly, I want to meet Michael, Milken, Peter, Alan. You guys know any of these people like Milken? Milken Global Conference, Peter Diamandis, X-Prize, Alan Rothenberg, Created, Century Bank, Art Bilger, David Geffen.
I know David.
Yeah. So what we were doing is I was just using another example of the company we have, P5, going through the process. And it's just basically saying, we're helping streamline the process for big companies to do business with early. Here's the industries we're looking for, the companies we want, we named. And we did this specifically in a presentation where 3 of these people we knew were sitting in the audience. So we wanted them as sponsors, but we actually said, hey, like these people, head of marketing, and then 2 of these people I knew were, their assistant directors were in the audience too. So I kind of targeted the description of what I was doing based on that. Does that make sense? All right.
I have a question.
Yeah.
On the prior one. So you have to have in mind exactly how much money you're looking for, because you're looking for monetary investment in your company, right? So what if this person asks how much money are you looking for? Is this the part where you have to say, because he is not investing in you, he's going to introduce you to somebody else?
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, the goal, again guys, the part of this is if you just have these sequences in your mind, they can come up differently in conversation because you'll know how to ask or how to lead the conversation. But to Pablo's point, before you answer what you do, if somebody asks you what you do, if you're at a networking event, if you're out, you never answer what you do first. Ever.
Oh.
Aha. What we're going to teach here is called deflect, defer, and disclose. So we'll do this one and then take a break if you guys want, because the other ones start going a little quicker. Deflect, defer, and disclose says if I'm at a networking event, if I'm out, if I'm meeting people, right, and if I meet Gabriella and I've got my little name tag on, says Steve and Meade, Big Bamboo, she's got her name tag on. What's the question most people ask?
What do you do?
What do you do?
Yeah.
And what do most people do?
The rock stars.
They just, well, we're networking, let me tell you what I do. Well, so we're going to role play, and I'm going to show you how not to do it, and I'm going to show you psychologically how to do deflect, defer, and disclose. So we're going to network, we're going to role play, you're going to ask me what I do, so go ahead.
What do you do?
Ray will do it with me, okay. What do you, well, what do you do? All right, that's called combat, conflict, right? Particulars flare up, the guy's like, you're an ass, I asked you what you do, why do you,
Yeah.
right? Our mind works a little differently. Our mind works kind of like ping pong. Like I ask you a question, Jack, answer. So what we have to do is we have to answer a question without answering a question. But the mind thinks we answered it.
Politicians are great at it.
Yeah. Yeah. If you watch any of the stuff going on this morning, people answer without answering, talk in circles. It's brilliant.
Oh,
All right, so let's do it again. Ray, go ahead.
What do you do?
Oh, we run a technology incubator out of LA. But anyway, tell me more about you, Ray. What do you do? What's your company again? So what I just did is I answered, but I didn't give him anything tangible. So I deflected. And I deferred back the conversation, and now the conversation's back on him. So now who's in control of that conversation?
You.
I am.
But what if I don't like it? Like I have had cases like that, and I'm like, listening to me, like I feel a little annoyed, to be honest with that. I mean, probably works, but I feel like the person is not really listening to me.
It's okay. I mean, if I asked that and picked it up, then I would just redirect questions a different way, or I would try and give you a little more. But regardless, I'm going to get back in control of the conversation. And if we're in a networking event, most people want to talk about themselves, you know. And if they don't, it's okay. But in my mind, I'm always in control of the conversation because I have a very specific sequential outcome of what I want to do, which is what I'm going to show next. All right. So if Ray and I are talking, go ahead.
Yeah, no, it makes total sense. That way you don't waste time with the people that you don't want to, or that can't help you, you know, for your business. I'm not saying you don't want to meet, but you know, basically the people you can't do anything with, and then you can move on to the next, to the people that you can do business with.
Yes, partially. You're correct for half. The other half will answer what you asked me before.
Well, that's better than being twice wrong.
No, that's what I said. This is great. I appreciate it. This is good. Right? So basically what we're trying to do with this, if it makes sense, is we don't answer, but we don't do it in a way that might, you know, upset Gabrielle. We try and give enough information, but now we're back in control of the conversation where the other person's talking about themselves. And we're genuinely interested, right? Step 2, what's in it for you, what's in it for me? I'm going to ask questions. I'm going to try and get control. I'm going to try and elicit information. Problem is, most people don't know how to tell me what they need.
Yeah, that's true.
They're going to be talking up here and they're the rock star. We don't have time for people to be rock stars. So we're gonna reverse the tornado on them.
Mhm.
Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna invert this. If Ray's sitting talking about production blah, I'd be like, Ray, stop, hang on. It's kind of cool, but like, what's the coolest part? Like the movie you're trying to get done, like what's the coolest part of the movie you're trying to get done?
Oh, right now?
Yeah.
It's a virtual reality series that has 4 stories going on at once.
Okay, and so is there, you're trying to raise money for it, or you're trying to, so what, where are you trying to go to raise money? Like what industries are good for VR?
Well, right now it's just financiers. The market is still, as far as the industry.
Is that studios? Is it venture guys? Is
No,
it...
just venture capitalists.
Okay, so what, are there any particular VCs who really like VR? Like, what are some of the venture guys that really like virtual reality?
Well, anyone normally that invests in movies are now switching over to VR because it's new.
Okay, so here's the problem. I don't know anyone or anybody or anything. If you don't know the top 5 VCs that invest in VR, that's your problem, not mine.
I see what you're saying. Okay.
Right? So right away, it's not my job to figure out who anyone or anybody is. If you need money in VR and you don't know the top, like I'm trying to help you, buddy, and can't help you.
Right.
Right? So again, none of this is meant to be mean. It's just
No, it makes
give
sense.
you guys the mentality here
Right.
that if I'm like, well, who are the VCs? And he goes, well, anybody. I'm like, okay, I know everybody. Like
Yeah.
anybody and everybody
Right.
doesn't
Yeah,
help.
so kind of like do your homework before you show up.
Right.
Yeah,
you need to know
But
what
a lot of
you're
people
gonna
don't know how to do this. So some of this is just having it in your mind.
be.
But I can go through and I can say, all right, are there certain, like who's your wish list of VCs? You have a certain venture capital guys that you like some of the top companies. You know, who are the top 5 VCs who invest in VR? Right? And it's easy. You can go type, who are the top 5 VCs that invest in VR? It's going to be Tim Draper at DFJ. It's going to be Michael Murdoch. It's going to be probably Vinod Khosla, maybe. Like you can find this stuff out super easy. Right? But if I'm asking the person, if I'm going through asking you the questions, I'm trying to see if I can help you. And I may not be able to. If you're like, oh, I don't need, people come to me. I'm like, oh, that's great. So, you know, there aren't colleges you're trying to get to. There aren't certain deans. And you're like, no. I'm like, okay, it's amazing. Right? But I'm still trying to help.
Yeah.
But the goal is when you're talking to somebody, this better qualifies that person, right, to know how you want to help them. Right? So what can I do to help? Which 2 or 3 companies are on your wish list? What's the biggest challenge? Who exactly are you trying to meet right now? Does that make sense? Let's see if this will work real quick. I'm going to show you guys something that...
Oh, yeah, totally. This is good. I'm so glad.
Stephen,
Yes?
you know, because Gabrielle and I are both DSMs for small business,
Uh-huh.
and when we try to explain what that is to people outside of the few people that know what a DSM is, they're like, what? You know, so
I
we
know.
run across this all the time when we're out and about trying for our other job besides our consulting businesses that we have.
Run across what? When you say this?
When that people look at us like, what are you talking
The
about?
title is weird. The
Because
name is just weird.
Our title and what
Oh,
we
yeah.
do is so, you know, so confusing to them. You could see them shutting down because, you know, so we have to try to figure out a way to say it to them.
What about connecting resources with other people?
Yeah, there's different ways, when you're talking with different people, because otherwise, you know, our DSN stands for Deputy Sector Navigator, so you even say that and people shut down. You know,
Yeah.
you're saying, I'm a Deputy Sector, and you can see them, they're floating away, you know, like, what the heck is that?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so.
But that's kind of this is what
Yeah.
you do is irrelevant.
Yeah,
what you
data.
need
Yeah,
is important. But you also want to find out who you're talking to.
yeah, exactly.
So I'll show you step 5, which is the psychological side. But just as an aside, don't have the picture. Like this is beta. But I've been doing this kind of teaching stuff for so long that part of it is I know it works. Part of it is a frustration when I talk to people. Not if I just generally meet them and don't know them, but when people are coming to me asking me to help them, like, oh, can you help me? I'm like, okay, who? Oh, you don't know? Like, here, let's Google. Who are the top 5 VCs? Right? And if I'm going to go get a meeting with them, I'll give you guys another tip. If you like, do all of you have a wish list? Who's the one person, if you could meet, you would like to meet for work, business, fun, whatever?
Just one.
Spielberg.
person?
Steven Spielberg.
Oh, it'd probably be an author, but I'd have to narrow it down to one author.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
So
Yeah,
many
okay.
people.
That would be hard.
What was
It's
the
okay.
question I was
Okay.
reading?
Who would you wanna meet?
To me, it's like so many
Oh,
people, and
wow.
I'm okay if I don't meet them. You know what I mean? Like,
Bill Gates.
I can live without it. So, dead or alive?
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanna meet
Oh.
Bill Gates, for example.
Well, if it's dead or alive, I would.
Well, no, let's go alive.
Yeah, let's
Oh,
go.
just go with alive.
Here's my point is, one of my tips if I was gonna go get to meet a Steven Spielberg or an author, I always Google what's important too,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
right? Because if I'm trying to figure out how to add value or I wanna know what's important to that person. So a lot of times I'll Google what's important to X, just to learn more about what they're interested in when I talk to them and see how I might be able to help them.
Mm-hmm.
Right, but let's go back. Don't laugh at this. This is going to be called 5 Peeps. This is an app that I'm having the guys finally finish building because I want to take this information out into the world. I like helping other people be successful, right? And we've heard the saying, you're an average of the 5 people you surround yourself with. Well, I went the other way. For me, you guys see isolation is about who are the 5 people you want to meet right now. Like, let's talk about what value do you bring, who do you want to meet? And step 2, right, with them, what's in it for you, what's in it for me. So this app's getting redone where it's not going to be this long bio, it's going to go about 4 pages and say more. But basically, it's going to be called 5 Peeps, and it's your name, your bio, what you do, what are your social media links, so these will all link out to your Facebook, LinkedIn. Here's articles or videos about you. And it says, here are the 5 people I'd like to connect with. I want to meet Ryan Seacrest. Here's his title. And then the box here, it says, what value do you bring to that other person? And then if somebody I'm talking to knows Ryan, they'll actually be able to click and forward an introduction to that person saying, hey, Ryan, Stephen would love to meet you. Check out what he's doing. And they'll be able to forward an introduction to the person you want to meet. And then that person can decide if they want to contact you.
That is on LinkedIn, right?
No, I built this. This doesn't exist.
You're building
Yeah,
it?
It's part of his
being
personal
built.
website. Yeah.
No,
Ah,
this is an app that we're about to
This
launch
is
and
an
give
app
away
that's-
Oh,
for
it's
free.
an app.
It's
Is it
fabulous.
free?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, because to me it's not a business. It's like I want to help people, and so it's probably going to be 5peeps.com, and it'll either be an app or a website, and you'll go and register for free, and it'll have 2 tabs, and the other tab will have videos with the tornado technique to teach. But I want an app out there where Gabrielle says, hey, I really need help, and I go, great, who are your 5 peeps? I could go and read about her and what she's doing, and watch some videos or read articles, and then see, hey, here's who she wants to meet, and here's the value she brings to that person, right? So if Ray wanted to meet Steven Spielberg and I knew him, I'd say, yeah, no problem, I'm going to forward an introduction, and if he wants to contact you, he will, right? I'm not doing this double email, I'm not exposing people, it's not a link, it's kind of like a LinkedIn forward, but I just built a tool that says, who are your 5 people you want to meet, and what value do you bring to them, and then people can help you connect with them. Yeah.
Do you know
I mean,
Steve?
it's like a kind of a related question. What would you recommend to somebody that is not like big on social media? Which one would you start with? Even LinkedIn is like not well used. Would you start writing a blog or what?
Depends on what their objective is or what they want to do.
Because there are so many outlets.
Yeah, I mean, I use LinkedIn actually for my blog. I have a separate blog, but I think it's harder for people to go. So I post articles into LinkedIn, and I use LinkedIn as my blog platform, because then LinkedIn ends up pushing it out to more people, and it builds. If I did a blog separately, then I've got to try and drive people there. LinkedIn's got a cool article publishing platform. So, but that's just me personally doing. So, all right. So does this make sense on the reverse tornado technique? Okay. You guys want to take a break here for a few minutes, or am I keep going? Because the rest of it starts going quick. All right, we're fine. If you guys want to take a break or need to, let me know. So, Pablo,
Yes.
this is what you were talking about, is if we focus on others, right? We deflect, defer, and disclose. We try and answer in a way like Gabrielle's not going to be upset about it. So we're still in control of the conversation. But what are we doing when we ask those questions? What are we doing when we go through asking what to do? What we're actually doing is trying to build referral currency. To your point, we're trying to build a psychological burden
Reciprocity.
Reciprocity.
Yeah.
There's a premise. If you help
Yeah.
somebody, they want to help
Yeah.
you back.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm going through asking questions, if I'm doing that with Ray, I'm not going to go, well, you don't know the people. Screw you. I'll keep asking, all right, like who are the top VCs? Like which venture capital do you want to meet? Are there any particular ones? And what I'm doing is I'm going through this is I'm making mental notes of potential introductions.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I'm making mental notes of potential people that would be beneficial to help you based on what you're telling me through the questions I'm asking you to get to the information I need to get to. So if I'm going there, what I don't want you guys to do, again, I'll use Ray just because this was an easy one. If I'm talking to Ray and I'm going through that sequence and say like, well, who do you want to meet? And he goes, Steven Spielberg. And that, I know Spielberg. Right? If you guys have been talking to somebody, you're like, oh, I'd like to meet so. Oh, I know that person. Or do you know so-and-so? Oh, well, you know, Gabrielle, do you know this person? Right? People jump in. It's called stepping on a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want you to do that. What I want you to try and do is make mental notes of the 2 or 3 people that hopefully come to mind
Mm-hmm.
where you can help that person. And I can get to about 5 mental pegs in my head, and then I'm like, hey, hang on, I gotta write this down for a minute. I got a couple of guys here. Hang on, here, blah, 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 blah. And I'll write down 3 or 4 or 5 names. So invariably, you know, unless you don't need help and you're in that situation, invariably, a lot of times when you're talking to people, if you ask good questions, you might be able to find some way to help them. You might know somebody or a way that you can get there, or you might be able to do what I call is a horizontal introduction, not a parallel. So if I had gone through all of that with Ray and the only name that came out was Steven Spielberg, I might say, you know what, Ray, I don't know Spielberg, but I know Cameron. I mean, I don't know that they're exactly the same, but Jim Cameron, I know his brother pretty well. My buddy Dean runs his company, right? So like a horizontal introduction to Steven Spielberg and James Cameron are maybe kind of at the same level. It's like saying if I want to do business with Rona Star, my software company, and I want United Airlines, you're not sending me to Joe's Pizza Shop, you're going to send me to American. If you're that's why I was asking colleges. If you're really good at small liberal arts colleges, I'm not going to send you to University of Michigan, but if it doesn't matter, it doesn't matter. Right? If you're great at public schools or private schools, it's like the more specific you are, the more specific I can help you.
Yeah.
Right? But what you're doing is you're trying to make mental notes. And then what you've done, when you do, what you do when you're done is the following. This is the psychological burden, the reciprocity. That's what I just kind of did to Ray. I didn't interrupt him through the course if I was asking him the questions. I'd say, Ray, tell you what, I don't know Spielberg. I do know a way to get to Jim Cameron. I know his brother fairly well. So, wow, remind me when we're done. Let's talk about a way to introduce you to those guys. But real quick, let me tell you what I do. I just built a psychological burden. Now I've got a referral burden on him. He's going to give me his best guys. And what am I going to do when I tell him what I do? Now, if we go backwards,